Ya, satu lagi game untuk Srg.Og mengenang masa M6 dipulangkan oleh Srg. Hoshi dipulangkan Srg. Apakah kita akan melihat dejavu di sini? Ya udahlah, nggak usah berharap banyak lah ya, nggak usah berharap banyak. Udah nih, last game buat Srg. Makan guys, makan ya, makan dulu. Gua sambilan makan ya. Lapar coy, capek dukung lokal ini terus. Dipulangin lagi. Anjing, kocak. Dipulangin dengan tim yang sama lagi. Katanya sih mau pulangin, faktanya dipulangin. Udah record ya. Ente lah ya. Respect juga ke Srg ya, sama RSQ juga lah. Setidaknya mereka udah berusaha gitu. Ini gue sambil makan ya, semua makan ya.
Letting us know, listen, I got this. I can run the assassins. I know I like to play utility, but I still have something up my sleeve, and I do like this against the Kimmy. Kimmy, yes, as a mid laner, doesn't have the largest range. You do have some dash, you do have some kite, but Lancelot is one of the few assassins who can quickly close that distance.
Yeah, but doesn't this mean that RQ now will have to commit a Fredrin ban? Or they're just willing to give the Fredrin to the hands of Srg, but it's a tried-and-tested combo. Fredrin and Kimmy together, paired up with the Kalea, just does so much for the Kimmy. Then as RQ might not, that puts too much pressure onto the Farsa and the Lancelot to make sure they get Stormy down.
I think that right now, with what RQ is trying to do, is trying to kind of set the tone for the draft, right? Especially within this first phase. And with Srg, we have like sub-synergies, nothing really solid like we saw in game number 2. But immediately, we are making sure that RQ is saying, hey, number one, we need to get rid of burst damage style heroes, right? That's why they're getting rid of the likelihood of Joy. I think they're also going to get rid of another assassin. I would assume Hayabusa in this particular case to not
Tadi di game 3 kan,
so that it doesn't
true damage wewe anjing. Astaga.
I mean, that's possible. I do like the idea of the Fredrin band as well. Either could work out.
Paniknya, bro.
So much utility jungle's already gone. But yeah, Srg also needing some burst damage for themselves, like you said, maybe something like the Hayabusa, or do they just go for the double marksman, tank front line, wait it out, take it slow, it's match point, they do have opportunity for that overall.
And I think this is the tough part now for RQ, because it's literally their choice, whether it's the Fredrin ban, which it is, or whether it was going to be a Hayabusa ban, which it could have been. Now, Hayabusa is potentially looking good for Srg. As we mentioned, a lot of the tanky fighter style junglers are gone, so they don't necessarily need to lean into the double marksman, but I think they will. Granger still looks really good for Srg, unless RQ decides to take it away.
Granger is definitely a possibility. RQ could easily scoop that up though up front, unless our Srg says no, we're going to ban that out too, and that gets rid of more burst.
Gua ke bawah bentar ya, gua ambil nasi lagi nih, sama ambil sos cabe. Bentar ya.
Not foreshadowing, but foresight coming in from HADIAH. Because now, because we've seen this 2 times already, where Kesku is trying to corner the jungle options. Unless they want to play something like Export again, right now there's a lot more burst coming out from our RQ side to maximize that value.
Yeah, and speaking of burst, if RQ lock in something like a Hilda here, potentially thinking about a Granger pickup of Srg, I think Srg wins. Because if that's a Hilda, good thing it wasn't! Because this pick for Ida only shows up when RRQ are on, alright boys, game phase mode, game time mode, we can't lose this. E-Dog's signature pick in the row.
This is so good. I was thinking whether or not they wanted to get the Gatot for themselves, at least then they have some form of counter engage against the Kalea, but unfortunately in this case, Tigreal works the exact same way, if not a little bit more precise with a scalpel rather than going for the big heavy left hand. I wonder if we see something spicy here from Srg.Og, something a little out of the norm. They've been able to surprise us with a few picks so far, and I think, yeah, we could keep it simple, go for like Hayabusa Granger, Moskov locked in. I am a little worried about, I'm kind of a little worried about Assassin up front, but also now with the Tigreal, Assassin isn't looking too bad, something that's not just going to get bullied around. There goes the Hayabusa. Last pick for RRQ though. Did they just go for the Granger?
Yeah, I think that might be their best
Makan
bet.
ya,
They need to
tambah nasi lagi guys.
out the range.
Biar ada tenaga dulu
To
dikit.
lock in the Granger.
Menghadapi kenyataan dipulangi dengan tim yang sama di M6.
Big guns as Edox, Tigreal. But SRG's lineup could be very good as well. It's a 50-50 for me.
Yeah, it's a really big 50-50. I think there are a lot of counterplay from each of the individual lanes.
Oh iya, by the way Bang Evan udah makan belum? Iya, tambah nasi. Iya, soalnya banyak kali lauknya Bang. Harusnya gue tadi makan sama perkedel 2-3 biji itu udah oke.
Alright, will this
Itu
be
udah, ini
game
mama
number
gue baru
5?
tadi
Will it end
pulang
here?
dia goreng ayam ya udah tambah nasi juga ya. Terus mau makan ya.
You need to show your love and make some noise for the teams you're supporting.
Gue makan cepet Bang.
Take us in.
Thank you so much once again to the panel for breaking
Yo, Bang,
it
tuh
down
makan
here
dulu,
in
Bang.
game number 4.
Mantap
Ladies
kali,
and gentlemen,
Bang,
you
Bang.
heard it there. It's match point right now for Srg.Og Esports as they move on forward. Or can we get to a game number 5 here? A maxed out series for this one. A trip, of course, to the semifinals ahead of them. RQ's got to pull something up their sleeves. They brought out the Tigreal for Edok. Brigitte, do you think this is right? I mean, we heard the sentiments from the panel.
Yep.
You know, it could come down to some big plays coming out here from RQ.
I mean, when it does come to these do or die situations, those clutch moments where you have to bring in these picks, your familiarity, your comforts, undeniably we've seen it multiple times. But whether or not these will be the right calls, because I'm worried from the way we've been seeing the past few games that RR2, may have been a bit too decisive on these calls, but it has to be all of them being decisive and coming together to follow up. So maybe that's my biggest worry. But in terms of playmaking setups, okay, for sure Edok is going to be delivering on this Tigreal.
He has to. I think, that's one of the main things, like, anytime we see one of these series, it's always the case, it's the team that's able to go ahead and overlap the ultimates better or have the better execution, like we like to say, or make the less mistakes. But in this case, as we take a look at the emblems too, I think a big part of this, once again, comes in the hands of, he's going to be able to set things up. Now, you sprinkle in some of that responsibility with Dyrant, like the XP laners are to be expected so far in our current meta, but I guess one of the biggest differences here in specifics to Edok is the Tigreal, it's a little bit more, I would say, assured to get a setup instead of the Cho. You can see already the pressure though.
Oh, fortunately Rins gets to reposition, so won't
Nggak
get taken
ada
out just yet. But the Phantom execution gets delayed by a bit through that knockup. Still, everyone gets to survive, though maybe not fully if the last hit still connects. But they just get to force out the recalls, and I feel like that's already something massive. You Dyrant literally going at it, use force to flicker, better dare strike also.
Itu tabrak itu si dua.
So they've done a really good job already, even without getting these kills.
Dyrant's coming back. He's like, I have a flicker. I got to the dark.
Nice! Nice, Jiren!
I knew he was going to do it. He had the flicker available. They get the call to come back. So RQ goes in, gets a double for Dyrant and the turtle.
Okay, so not so, with just the recalls, with just the battle spells, they had to get the kills because I feel like that's where RRQ literally gets activated. They're able to just set the tempo and keep the pace, but now they seem to go after Toy. He has no way out of that storm, or Innocent gets very low, however, but now they're gonna play it safe. They're already happy with what they got there. That's the trade. It's a bit delayed, but that's the trade for SRG for now.
Yeah, it's still the case here. Like we've seen. Oh, hold on, mid lane. Rain's gonna be in trouble. Wings by wings, flaps on around, and will still be alive. Since Sea Storm is so low, I don't think he's gonna be able to cover the ground. So this is the thing. You have this trading going on. The big part of this is now Cram has to go against a 2-0 Phoveus. And like we've seen, Phoveus, even without kills, will usually be able to just kind of tank up 3 dudes, 1v3 if he has to. This gives him a little bit of the advantage, but Cram on the glue is still relatively going to be fine, at least in the lane. But once these next objective fights break out, that's where, it's going to be kind of important that Cram is able to go ahead and utilize the glue against Dyrant and Phoveus here. But also, it's just the case with the damage already on Innocent.
Cancelled by the knockup from the title strike though, but the final execution just in time. So Srg gets to last Innocent, now looking looking after Stormy. Doesn't land the Thorn Rose though. But still, that's a lot. They got the kill on Innocent and Yumes. And
Please lah, yang penting please jangan deja vu.
this is the
Sama
time where
kedudukan.
Indok gets a lot more online.
Minimal ya udah lah, yang main kedudukan udah oke aja lah. Jangan sampai 3-1 lagi sih. Mau 3-2 menang S1 itu nggak apa-apa. Yang penting udah improve bro.
We don't even know what item he's going for first.
Don't, but look at this, the fight for the turtle. Suzujin proven that he can play the assassins as well, of course. Turtle secured, a second one in the hands of RQ. SRG might have a kill on the board, but other than that play they made on Toy earlier on, they haven't been able to really do anything. RQ is playing into the composition that they have. This is always the case with a Farsa. Farsa's damage is just pretty tough to deal with when you're getting set up in the mid lane, especially around this. They're going to go with the implosion in the setup.
Tyrant goes in, but has a flicker to keep himself alive. Actually went for the blade
Nah kan, dikit lagi kan.
the damage from Rins already too much. You don't actually find
Matiin,
the top
nice.
lane and Toy gets last hit. What a better way to establish this early game
Yoi, Bang.
for RRQ. Toy gets involved.
Itu kurang tahu ya, mudah-mudahan nggak blunder sih.
They've been very clean in terms of whoever they
Tapi
decide to
dia
go
dari
for in
match
terms of
sebelumnya
setup so
agak
far.
gimana gitu ya.
He just got the Sky Piercer as well, so, you know, unfortunately he didn't have it earlier before he gets killed, but now he's got it, and things for RQ are going to go ahead and set things up. This is why the positioning for the roamers are imperative. You can see Edok right now playing the patient game. He's going to go ahead, gives the information, implosion, traction pulse is already going to be used, and Edok is waiting for that ultimate to be available. It should be up soon. He's going to
nice.
Sacred Hammer!
Waduh, nggak ada ulti pula dia.
And they still get to hand
Udah
over
kedua orang
that
tadi, Cok.
purple buff to
Puri,
Sujin
ke
regardless.
cleaner,
So
ya.
now he's one level ahead of Sekai's. Not looking too good because it seems like RRQ, they're just so in sync right now. They're covering the map so well. And they know where they
Nana,
just
pergi
want
makan
to
mau nih.
position next. I mean, look at where Edok positions him. Push
Apakah C?
after
Oh.
another.
He's like, okay, I didn't have the implosion earlier on. I have it now. You know,
Itu
so
mau
he went in
bawa
the second hammer, that
Molly.
was fine, didn't get anything. But ultimately, they're playing around this last turtle of the game. The turret in the bottom does go down. Traction pulse is going to be used again, but tanky enough to deal with this. They might try to go ahead and just set up for the turtle. Just focus on that. Everybody from RQ is here. Sakai's, I don't think he makes it in time, so that's 3 for 3 objectives now for RRQ. At least for SRG, they go and put a push on that tier 1 turret. That's about the best that Innocent can do, at least
Ya
for
mungkin lah
now.
perfect battle ya.
But the eyes are set here for the tier 1 in the mid.
Yep. Yumes can potentially go in if he finds an angle, but he will be respecting RRQ for now. Innocent goes in with the SOD just to join his other teammates, as Dyred is kind of forced to respond as well to the pressure that is being applied by Innocent here. I mean, that's the
Ada
worst
kok,
they can
gua udah makan.
for now, not until they feel like they have sufficient resources in their arsenal. They're working on a double marksman lineup nonetheless, so I feel like the late game won't be that big of a problem if ever Srg.Og are able to extend the fight. But does Innocent know that Ritz is there?
Well, they're going to know he's there anyway.
Oh, now they find out!
No.
Standard airstrike!
Nice.
Onto Innocent!
Nice.
That was so unfortunate.
The question was did Rins know? You know, like, I'm pretty sure because he calls
Ini kan kayak
either
tulang,
through that wave and then
bukan tulang sih,
just
ayam
spots him out.
paha ya.
Innocent going down there
Jadinya
is
gua
really
kasih dia
unfortunate for
yang
SRG.
bagian ini,
This is
bagian atas sama
probably
bagian
the
bawah.
biggest lead that we've seen so
Langsung
far
dia
in the
gigit.
series now. RQ
Soalnya
going on
kalau
to
yang di
16
sini kan
goal lead.
takutnya dia
You can see the
kesedak
difference
pula.
here in terms of itemization. Toy has
Ini
no problem taking down this tier 2 of the top side. So the map is pretty open for RQ. Conceal's going to be used.
Okay.
I don't think they are able to catch anyone, but if they get a shield this early on,
Wow.
Oh, digelari, Cok.
RQ.
Oh my goodness, that was a
Oh, di
pure
balik doang.
already forced out of Stormy when all other members of RQ weren't even nearby. But Yogi Shadow Kill gets split up against 4 members. Somehow Crab also gets to mount on Edok, but they won't be going with the
waduh,
fight.
mati.
Title strike to deny Sujin, Spear of Misery all around. So they
Mantap.
pushed it back a bit, but look at the damage and the sustain coming in from
Nice. RRQ, nice. Wah, jangan bayangkan recall, Bukima. Kau belum menang anjing.
Even when we thought they
Sok-sok
could
nanti di
actually
comeback
find a
nangis
way
tuh.
back.
Such a clean
Orang
game
baik.
right now from RQ. Sakai's in trouble. Forced
Belum
off with
menang.
an airstrike.
Udah
And
recall.
this is an early
Astaga,
base
bro.
turret being knocked down. from RRQ. SRG can't do anything but watch as the base turret falls. And meanwhile, the Lord has been worked on and secured by
Sampai nangis lagi nanti.
and this is going to be a big
RRQ
play
untuk-
now for RRQ
Viva
to
RRQ
march
untuk-
into a base
Apa tuh?
that is vulnerable.
When you said they secured the Lord, I had to check if Innocent had an SOD because of like the amount of
happened?
times it happened. But yeah, I mean, there have been so many resources burned out here by SRG just to push back the members of RRQ, just to force them to walk away. And I mean, they did successfully do so, especially in terms of trying to at least push Edok away, but that didn't stop Tyron, that didn't stop the other members, but that's a Tsunami Slam already committed onto Edok. Won't be able to cast a setup just yet, but look at how Ritz positions himself with the better airstrike. Tsujin gonna
Nice.
get back
Back.
finds the kill on Stormy, then Tanaka back welcoming him up.
Nice, nice,
Look at
nice, nice.
how
Game 2, game 3, game 4.
now
Nice, nice,
isolated
nice.
Sikaze
Tower, tower, tower.
gets a double on the
Nice,
Ranger.
nice. CTR dua-dua
Great
guys, CTR
initiation,
dua-dua.
a great
Improve ya.
sandwich
Nice,
play
nice.
under the tier 2. RQ balloons himself to an 11,000 gold lead. Can they end the game here?
It seems like the kingdom is only after one thing. Setsujin gets the kill on Innocent, Ridge, great positioning just to clear the waves, and they will deliver indeed. We are heading into a game number 5.
Nice, 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 nice.
RRQ felt the presence of the Red Giants at the walls, and they came out just swinging in this game for absolute perfection of a game for them. A massive lead, the cleanest we've seen so far in the series. And it brings it down to now, yeah, really, what are we going to expect for Game 5? There was no answer here for the pressure that was put on
Nice, nice. Gak deja vu kita guys.
RRQ in general. And we got to see a
Sama ya.
very great performance as well
Gak deja vu.
from
Deja vu.
Srg and just the squad to be able to make this Lancelot work, to make this composition work.
Let's go, let's go.
Barca proving how much of a
Let's go,
threat
let's
it
go.
can